Nathan, there's nobody likes to grieve, but there's good kinds of grief out there. Like when you're at a funeral and you make a big scene of throwing yourself on a coffin and wailing to the heavens, or when you're
Yeah, everyone in that room generally believes that to be good.
yeah, they go, wow, he's really feeling it.
He's taking this good. He's taking this well.
That's some good grief. You know who else knows a lot about good grief is our good friend, that bald-headed, little, depressive Charlie Brown.
Yeah. I really love this intro. I think it really set up. You really set up the tea.
I do too. I'm laughing. It's a comedy podcast.
That's true. It is. I forget that sometimes.
Well, you're not going to forget it this one, because we're going to send the audiences into conniptions of laughter. This is just the tip. You're just resting on the tippity tip of our little icebergs poking out of the ocean. Because, of course, you're listening to Network Special, the podcast about the golden age of appointment-based television, when you had to watch what was on when it was on television. But now, thanks to the magic of the internet, we can watch these things again and again. I am one of the co-hosts of this show. My name is Zachariah. I'm here with my beautiful other co-host, who?
Nathan.
And producer Jeremy is somewhere in a snowdrift today. In Ohio, where I am, it is snowing fit to beat the band. There has not been a snowplow or a salt truck going down my street all day. It is just one big blanket of beautiful, beautiful snow. How I hate it.
The salt trucks. Now, I'm from Ohio, so I know this phenomenon. I'm not.
Yeah.
But like, do you think they go through and then like they get done and they turn around and they're like, ah! They go right back. You know what I mean?
I live,
or are they on a schedule or something?
Well, I live right by the highway, and I can overlook, and I saw the plows going down that street, and like a cartoon, just like the snow was burying the trail behind them.
Yeah.
It's also funny because when I was in Texas for a little while, I mentioned a salt truck, and everybody not from the north just stared at me like I was talking about an ice cream truck.
For salt, like for deers
salt
or something,
yeah.
Salt licks.
Like we would all run out and get our salt lick.
Yeah, like the milkman.
Yeah. Although I guess my mom delights in telling people that whenever I was little, I would go outside and eat the salt off the road.
Oh, that's cute and funny and safe.
Because, of course, it's not really salt. It's like that weird chemical compound that has salt in it, but it's mostly toxic chemicals.
Oh my gosh, wait a second. This absolutely explains everything.
Yeah.
It's like, like did you eat paint chips when you were a child? It's like, no, you ate road salt.
Yeah. I shoveled road salt in my mouth, and then I looked up and my pupils dilated.
That was fun.
But what'll warm this up is us talking about the romance at the beginning of the month of February for everybody's favorite holiday across the board, Valentine's Day. Everybody loves it. Nobody has weird feelings about it. So we're going to talk about some romantic things for the next 2 weeks, starting with Charlie Brown specials. Two of them. We're going to cover 1967's You're in Love, Charlie Brown, and 2002's A Charlie Brown Valentine.
Yeah.
Eras apart from each other.
And we wanted to do two of these. We wanted to do like one from an old era, one from the new, and kind of compare and see how they've advanced over the years. Now, have we done a Charlie Brown? We have done something, haven't we?
We haven't done a Charlie Brown. You've suggested them. I've always kind of dragged my feet on them because first of all, there are 45 Charlie Brown specials.
That's 45 network special episodes, baby.
And it's not I love the Charlie Brown. I love the weirdly named Peanuts strip. I love the Charlie Brown strip. I like some of the specials. The Peanuts specials, they're either funny and charming and I like them, or they are like having a child slowly read comic strips to you while your uncle plays his jazz albums, or it's just like nonstop silent Snoopy antics for half an hour. And it's like rah, 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 rah. And I'm not anti Snoopy, but
fighter pilot.
Yes,
like as a fighter pilot for
or
like 20 minutes.
playing
Just like
tennis or whatever Snoopy is into. I'm not anti Snoopy. There are some people who like literally say the comic was ruined when Snoopy was introduced. I'm not one of those extremists, but a little Snoopy goes a long way with me.
Although I have fond memories of the Snoopy Come Home one, the one where he's like lost.
Is that?
And it's the one that's got the "No Dogs Allowed" song in it.
Boy, like I said, there's 45 of these. I don't know if that's the one. Are you talking about the weird live action animation one?
No,
Okay.
I'm not sure, but that is one out of all the 45, we have to do that one for sure.
I agree. It's the girl in the big red truck, Charlie Brown, which
that's not
stars.
it.
No, that's it. Oh, that's not the
No,
one
I
you're
mean-
talking about. I see.
Yeah.
No, the one that stars Charles Schultz's daughter in the live action sections. Yes, we definitely need to do that.
Really?
Yes.
That's just a requirement for him that he just hires people who are not actors to do stuff.
Yeah, Charles Schultz went to a rage if you had a SAG card.
Yeah.
What are your feelings towards Peanuts? What are your Peanuts memories, or why? Like, because like I said, you're the one who kept suggesting these, and I kind of dragged my feet on them.
So, I have super fond memories of the specials, from the holiday specials, like obviously the Halloween one, Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, obviously the Thanksgiving one. What's that one called?
Is it just It's Thanksgiving, Charlie Brown?
Or something. That one's very, the popcorn and the jelly beans. And
a
all that
Charlie
stuff,
Brown Thanksgiving. Pretty straightforward, yeah.
Yeah. And the Christmas one I remember, but I was not interested in the
religious
Snoopy as
okay.
No. I liked that aspect of it. It as a young budding Christian,
of course.
But the Snoopy Baron, I think that's also in the same.
The Red Baron.
I don't remember. Yeah, the Red Baron stuff, because it's on Christmas record, just like a Christmas Red Baron record or something, which I had. I can't remember. It's all like everything is garbled up in my mind about this. And then of course the one I'm talking about, the Snoopy, when Snoopy is trying to get back home, and he keeps getting thrown out of places that has a sign that say "No dogs allowed." And I would read the comic strip. I loved the music. I loved the feeling of them. I loved that there was like little kids saying the words. It just felt it feels like home. Like whenever one of these comes on, it feels like, oh, it's Christmas time, or something. Like it feels like oh, everyone gathers around to watch the yearly showing of, Christmas, Christmas or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm listening to. I was also kind of like scrolling and trying to figure out which one you were talking about. Is it He's Your Dog, Charlie Brown? Because apparently that's about him being separated.
Maybe that's it. Let's see. No dogs episode Snoopy. It is Snoopy Come Home. Snoopy Come Home is what it's called.
Okay.
And the song is sung by none other than our pal, friend of the show, Thurl Ravenscroft.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah.
Thurl Ravenscroft, old Tony the Tiger.
And the Grinch.
Yeah.
Or no, he sang the Grinch
sings,
song.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's also in the Haunted Mansion.
And he also has one of the
heads.
greatest names of all time.
Yeah, Thurl Ravenscroft. Beautiful. Yeah, so I was always a fan. I think when I watch them now, obviously they're not as, I don't connect to them in the same way. But the old ones, when I watch them, I still like them the same. I still like them.
Mm.
I did think that they were way longer than they are, these specials.
Do you think that has anything to do with watching them without commercials?
Oh, probably. But when you look at the running time, they're in the Thanksgiving one's like 20 minutes or something.
Right, because there's no Schwabel's bread ads every 5 seconds.
But I mean, I would have thought that I thought they were like an hour.
Oh, okay.
You know, which would be way too long.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone remembers Christmas. Obviously, that's just like synonymous with Christmas. Everyone remembers the Great Pumpkin. Maybe you remember the Thanksgiving one. But all the rest of these, like, I defy anyone to remember It's the Circus, Charlie Brown. Or
I have seen this one.
She's a good skate, Charlie Brown. She's a good skate.
Isn't there one? There's some 4th of July ones too, and I can't remember what they are. Like
4th of July. There's an It's Arbor Day, Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
There is Flash Beagle.
Oh yeah, Flash Beagle. That was a record too, I think.
Sure. There's Snoopy's Getting Married, Charlie Brown.
Love it.
Okay. Glad you love it. It kind of became like thin soup, but I mean, obviously people were watching them. I like them. I mean, I love the comics up until like, the 1980s. Charles Schultz was getting to be an old man, and then the comics just kind of turned into like jokes about your tennis game, that kind of thing. But I love all the strips where, people are talking about theology and being abjectly cruel to each other and being depressed. I think they're all funny. I think they're beautifully drawn characters. I like how all the kids in these sound like they have just gotten hit in the mouth. Like they all have crazy speech impediments.
Well, and they all sound like they smoked for a couple of years.
Peppermint Patty's voice in this first special is the greatest child's voice. It sounds like somebody stuck a bottle brush down this kid's throat and then started having her do lines.
Yeah. And you were talking about the religious aspect of it, which is so funny. There's a line in the first one that is like way more like inside baseball for religion.
So inside baseball.
When he says he's doing Charlie Brown's doing the flower, and he's going, she loves me not. She loves me not. And then I think it's Linus who says, I've never known a flower to have the gift of prophecy.
Yeah. I mean, it works if you don't know that's like a Bible thing, but boy,
I think it works more if you do know.
Of course it does. Oh, the pews are rolling if you're in the know.
Yeah.
And these are both the Valentines. I guess there's actually only 2 Valentine's Day specials, and the second one, the Valentine, is the official Valentine's Day one, but there were a lot of romance themed Charlie Brown specials.
Yeah, like the first one we watched isn't Valentine's, right? Because it happens during the summer. Like the summer's coming.
Yes, these are more just love
Yeah.
themed shows.
But the second one is.
Oh, don't you worry, it is. You're in Love, Charlie Brown. These are, despite one being 1967 and one being 2002, these are both directed by the same person, Bill Melendez, who was an animator at Disney doing like Pinocchio. Then he worked for Warner Brothers doing Looney Tunes. And then when he first struck out on his own to be an independent animator, the man struck oil with signing with Charles Schultz to do the first Peanut special, and he hitched his wagon to Charles Schultz past the grave. He's still milking that man. Right? Yes.
Lee Melendez.
Yeah,
passed
inherited.
on the torch.
Yep, that's right.
Now he in this, gosh, I lost what I was going to say. Bill Melendez directed this. Crap, I can't figure out. I'll come back to it. Keep going.
Okay. Bill Melendez also does the voice of Snoopy in Woodstock in everything, including like in the Peanuts movie. That's right. Hey, you're a real Bill Melendez, Nathan. They still use all his archival recordings of Snoopy to this day. Who else could you give the role to? Except for you, apparently. You can do it.
Of course, yeah. I was going to say that it seems like they were both working from the same script, too. It seems like the 2002 is like kind of a remake of this one in some ways.
These two, it's interesting that we did these as a contrast, because I hadn't seen either of these, or if I had ever seen You're in Love, Charlie Brown, I didn't remember it. It just kind of like mixed in with the fog of all the other Charlie Brown stuff I've seen over the years. But these are both pretty similar in the fact that all of the dialogue is taken directly from the comic strip. There's no original script here beyond the Charles Schultz, lines and story for both of these, which means that there is a plot kind of in the fact that there are reoccurring characters and situations, but it's more just like a string of not quite one-liners, but a string of jokes kind of hung loosely together. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, in my mind, this is kind of like it's like Laughing or something. It's like a sketch show almost. There's these little tiny sketches, and then there's kind of a little thread going through, but it's really just a series of comic strips, just animated, and then you put a through line happening behind them.
Yeah, it's an emotional laugh-in.
Yeah. Have you wondered, after 45 episodes of this, like at what point do you think the Charlie Brown character kills himself?
Right. Yeah, well, that's your Robot Chicken spec script, right?
Oh yeah,
it's
there you go.
Charlie Brown's medication
therapy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had any more follow-up with that.
I had no follow-up to that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but these, ever since the first Charlie Brown specials, these were kind of revolutionary specials in the fact that you had real kids performing these children, and a very, for the time, revolutionary jazz score. Like putting jazz music to these kind of things was not normal. It would either be like library music or a full orchestra doing kind of like Looney Tunes style music. So, in the mid 60s, this felt very contemporary. I guess Charles Schultz didn't even love the music. He just kind of went along with it, and then it became, I'm sure when those checks showed up, he was okay with it.
What? Who was like, no, we got to have this?
The director.
Melendez?
Yeah.
Okay.
And of
He wanted to have
the
Schultz wanted to have the old style. Like,
no, he wanted the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. Yes, and he wanted the violin that plays during Charlie Chaplin shorts. um, uh, and these seem to reflect Charles Schultz pretty well. Both of these specials have to do with his pursuit of the little red-haired girl who Charlie Brown is in love with from afar. Who,
and that's her real name, by the way,
well,
because she signs it.
the little red-haired girl, which I
The
thought was
little
funny.
red-haired girl.
Anytime she talks about herself.
Yeah, that's her real name.
We never see her in the comic strip. We don't see her in the first special. In the second special, we do see her. She kind of looks like little orphan Annie. And Charles Schultz, I read a biography of him. He's a very interesting person. He seems like a lot of ways a very decent person, a very depressed person, but also just like exactly the kind of competency and maturity level at romance that you would expect a man who came up with Charlie Brown to be at. The little redheaded girl is based on a real redheaded woman who he proposed to and was turned down early in life.
Oh,
and so he obsessively starts writing these comics about her, regardless of the fact that he was happily married. Well, until he wasn't, but he got happily remarried again. But yeah, I guess it bothered him forever.
Yeah.
He said he never let go of it. He contacted her later and became friends with her. Yeah, interesting guy.
He even in this one, he makes her dance with a dog.
Yeah, I mean, this was post his death, but I like to think that that's Melendez getting her good for Charles beyond the grave.
How often does the piano player, what's the piano player's name?
Well, Vince Guaraldi is the Schroeder
on the show. Schroeder. How often does Schroeder talk in the originals?
In the comics?
No, in the cartoons.
He talks. I mean, Lucy talks more, but Schroeder has a fair amount to say.
Okay, I couldn't remember if he did talk much, because in 2002 he did talk a lot more than I remember him talking.
Especially in the comics, he is a character who has a lot of dialogue. Schroeder's also one of my favorite characters, so it's nice for me to see him used. Do you have a top Peanuts characters?
Well, I'm an ally, so I gotta say Franklin. Probably Linus. I think I like the
of course.
Of course I like him, right? You know?
Yeah.
But I like that he's really handy with the blanket. It's not just a thing, but I do like Schroeder a lot. I like that he freaking is a master pianist at this. And I was thinking about it, like the only people who are truly good at things started when they were that age. That's how I feel about it.
So you feel like it's a grounded character.
Yeah. I think that's true. I kind of like Marcy, but she's just because I just don't know what her whole thing is. I just don't understand. I don't really get why she calls Patty sir, and like I don't know. I feel like she would have grown up to be like a hipster or something, maybe or something. I don't know.
Marcy's great. I mean, all the Peanuts characters work so well because they have such a strong game, all of them. Like, It's the magic of these characters is when they walk into a situation, you know basically what their individual reactions to the situation will be.
Yeah.
I love Lucy. Not Lucille Ball, a horrible person, a
Oh,
horrible
okay.
communist. I love, I love Lucy Van Pelt. I love Peppermint Patty, and I really like Schroeder. I also do like Linus. Linus gets a lot of good lines.
I don't know if I don't think I like Patty because I feel like she's obnoxious and she doesn't have any boundaries and she doesn't ever listen to
Mm-hmm.
anyone else. She just says the things. I know people like that.
I do
I'm
too. I think
projecting
that's
now.
why I like the character so much. Is you rarely see that kind of character portrayed, especially because that's something that children often do. But, well, I will say maybe my feelings towards Peppermint Patty haven't been so strong until the You're in Love Charlie Brown, and she has that crazy run where she's talking to Charlie Brown about how she's going to hook him up with the person she thinks he's in love with. He goes,
Yeah.
a little amour fatale, eh, Chuck? Huh? So she won't give you a tumble, eh, Chuck? So she won't give you the time of day, eh, Chuck? It's
She
just,
won't give you a tumble.
I know. That's what I laughed so hard at when she said that.
And she says freaking Chuck, and every time she says it, he goes, Chuck?
Yeah.
Like, and that is something, when I was a kid, my dad's name is Charles. And whenever I would go to his work, no one in our lives ever called him Chuck.
Okay.
And but when we go to work,
But his friend Patty.
or people will call from work, yeah, people would call from work and they would say, hey, is Chuck there? And it would enrage me. I hated it. Like, I hate that name. That's not my dad's name. His name is Charles.
So they just decided themselves that that was what they would shorten it to?
It's what happens. Like, everyone calls me Nate.
Oh,
And I don't
really?
hate it.
Yeah.
I don't hate it, but it's like, I mean, I've introduced myself as Nathan to
Yeah.
someone, and then they've immediately said, "Nice to meet you, Nate." Like in it, and
I won't
I'm
be
fine,
saying that.
but you can call me whatever you want, Zachy.
Every bro boss I've ever had has called me Zach immediately. Same thing. I
Just-
introduce myself.
yeah. Yeah, it's like you're just like, I don't know what that is, but anyways, yeah, I don't know, and I want to talk a little bit about Pigpen too.
Sure.
The fact, like, I hate this character. I don't hate Pigpen. It's not his fault.
He has a curse from God.
I hate that they portray this poor kid, this poor person.
I don't think he's supposed to be
comes to
poor. I don't think he's supposed to be poor.
That's how I see it. That's how I see it.
Okay, well.
He's poor. He has no money. He can't take showers. He's like Dookie in The Wire. He has to go to school.
There are, like, Pigpen.
That's how I see it.
Pigpen does, because the girls will get on Pigpen and say, Pigpen, take a bath. And he will say, no, I want to be one with the earth, basically. This is
Okay,
Pigpen's
all right,
choice. Although,
Okay.
you know who
Is
else?
is his choice to be called Pigpen?
Yeah, well, that's what he calls himself.
Okay.
You know who else?
Pigpen Mankiewicz.
You know who else hates the character Pigpen?
Uh-oh.
Is Charles Schultz.
Oh, really?
He said he regretted making the character because it's so one-dimensional. He said, I did this kid who loved to be dirty. He goes, I just did it as like a one-off thing. Then I got all these letters from people saying how much they love Pigpen. I'm like, great. He has no personality. He's just dirty. What do I do with this kid?
Well, and I like what they did with him in the 2002, I think, where he walks through a sandbox and all the sand sticks to him.
Yeah.
I did like that.
There's some interesting kind of surreal gags in this for as much as Peanuts is dialogue heavy. Like when Lucy can't take Schroeder ignoring her, so she breaks his Beethoven bust and throws his piano on the
Yes.
ground. And then he goes to one closet, opens it up, it's full of pianos. Goes to another closet, opens it up, it's full of Beethoven busts.
Yeah.
It's not a joke you would expect from Peanuts, but I love it when they stick that kind of thing in.
There's also one crazy angle that they drew, and I can't remember if it's in the first or the second, but there's one kind of bird's eye view of Charlie Brown where you get just the top of his head.
Oh yeah, you see the
And
weird
it's
little
so
tuft.
strange.
Yeah, when you see his little tufts out the back of his head, it doesn't work very well.
Yeah, it looks so weird. It looks like he's all punched down like a claymation. Like
Well, and being into comedy, we hate punching down.
I never punch down.
You
I never
never
do.
ever punch down.
I never punch
Even
down.
the thought that Pigpen might be pure or poor, you do think he's pure. He's a pure being.
Exactly.
He doesn't deserve this kind of abuse.
The only time I've punched down in life
Hmm.
is when playing the Hawaiian Punch board game.
Or when your kid's not listening.
Yeah, that's true. When the kid's not listening, I go at it on poor people. The homeless get out of my way when my kid's not around. Otherwise, I will treat you like a human with dignity.
Speaking of how everyone looks, it is funny compare and contrast seeing the 60s one where the drawings look okay, but sometimes depending on the angle of where somebody is standing or who was animating that day, eyes might seem a little weirdly far apart, or Linus's head gets a little Cro-Magnon look to it.
He has that permanent knot on his head.
Yeah, it gets a little intense. But then when you get to 2002, it's computer animated, but in a style that makes it look like it's cell animated and pencil watercolor backgrounds. Yeah, that's all computer. Yeah, but they retained the look. I think they did it pretty
They nailed
well. Yeah, it looks nice. And all the music is the original composed music performed by a different person. So, they're trying to keep the tone very, very similar.
I like the new versions too.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, do we even have to say
like
the music is banging on all of these?
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah.
It's really what whenever he starts off that one line where it's like doodle-doo-doodle-doo-doodle-doo,
Yeah.
doodle-doo-doodle-doo, like that gets me every time. I'm like, oh, I'm in on this. Yeah. Old girl, old Vinny boy.
Yeah, I mean, we're not getting into the plots because it's just, Charlie Brown wants to ask out the little redheaded girl and he doesn't. And various shenanigans happen with our friends around him. The ending of both of these specials is very odd. And I realize if they're only pulling from the comics, so they're not making any original dialogue up. The ending of the 60s, Charlie Brown, he gets a note from her on the last day of school. I guess she rides a bus, so he can never visit her. It's unclear why
Which
he
is
can't
weird
visit her.
because she's walking home on one of the days in one of the clips.
Yeah, they don't really justify why he can't see her when it's not school time. But she leaves Charlie Brown a note saying, "I like you," and as you said, signed the little redheaded girl. And Charlie Brown's happy, and he's like, "How am I gonna wait the whole summer?" And then that's it. And
there's no way she's still into him.
No way. No, that number, that hot little number. And then in the 2002, she never notices him. He kind of mistakenly gets put on a date with Marcy and Peppermint Patty, which is kind of... I like the back and forth of them trying to woo Charlie Brown and him being clueless, but it doesn't really pay off that well. And at the end, he goes, "I didn't get a Valentine from anyone." And then Snoopy comes up and gives him a Valentine, and that's the end of the show.
Right. This is where I'm like, this one is so much more depressing.
Yeah.
Because at least in the first one, he gets some play. He gets a little tumble.
Uh, yeah.
But in the second one, I just feel like I'm like, this guy is in a constant whirlwind of getting beaten down by life.
You know,
And it's never his fault. It is never his fault.
I mean, but you're talking about the driving force of Peanuts, which is the cruelty of the world against us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, what are
Which
the
was
ones?
always why I loved this as a kid.
That's always why it's so funny that kids are into it. I mean, I understand why I was too. I'm trying to think, does the Thanksgiving one, I guess that ends on a high note, right? They all decide to have a good time at Charlie Brown's dinner, even though he's
Yeah,
giving them
probably.
toast and jelly beans. But the Christmas special ends on an up note, but it's not until the last second. I mean, it's just Peanuts is such a universe of just people trying to be happy, and whether through themselves or what they think they want out of another person, something is always in the way of that happiness, which, if you read about Charles Schultz's life, is how he operated his entire life. So he was a very good artist and author in that respect. But it's a weird universe for a kid's property to live in.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't quite know if anything else has ever touched just the kind of middle ground that it lives on.
Yeah, mostly that's like reserved for sitcoms, you know.
Oh, when I think
Where
of Step by Step, I think of the
the
melancholy of
crushing.
everyday life.
Yeah, Step by Step really was my personal therapy.
Yes.
It's funny that you said that because it did just show up in my Plex.
Oh, yeah. What was the deal with Cody on Step by Step? Did he like assault somebody or was inappropriate with somebody and they replaced him with another dumb goon halfway through the show?
I don't know this. I don't know the story.
Cody, that's the dumb on Step by Step, right?
Yeah.
He went,
Yeah.
whoa,
I think-
whoa, 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 right? That guy.
Yeah.
In the, I believe, double episode in Step by Step where they go to Disney World, Cody is gone, and suddenly this other doofus who talks a lot like Cody shows up, and he is then the Cody of the show. I think like I said, he did something inappropriate on set or to one of the cast members and got fired. But there wasn't the internet then, so we don't, talk about it as much. Until
No, isn't Step by Step
Step by Us. Yeah.
still network special? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Isn't Step by Step filmed on the same set as that show Hogan's Family or something? Like, I feel like it's one of the same. It looks exactly like another set.
Well, they're both TGIF, right?
I don't know.
Because didn't Step by Step meet Hogan's Family and also met Urkel? I think Step by Step.
I think they met Urkel. I know they met Urkel. I know that happened.
And Hogan's Family met.
I think.
I think they crossed paths with Step by Step. They pulled that trick a lot.
They were on at the same time. I didn't think they were on at the same time.
No, remember on Step by Step, wasn't it that Urkel took off in a jetpack and landed literally in the next show, which was Step by Step? He lands in their yard. That's so ballsy. But as a kid, that's what you want to see.
Oh my gosh, I want everything mashed up as a kid. That's why I always say Wacky Racers. Wacky Races was always my favorite cartoon because it was all the cartoons all mashed up into one big ball.
Yeah. I mean, this is a golden era for you then, because everything is essentially Wacky Racers.
Mm-hmm. Everything's a spin-off. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So I would say, which did you like better?
I think I liked You're in Love, Charlie Brown better. I thought the jokes landed a little harder. I thought it was funny that there is a joke that is used in both specials years apart.
Yeah.
Lucy has a line. Charlie Brown says he's nervous talking to the little redheaded girl because she's so pretty, and Lucy says, "Well, why can you talk to me?" and starts having a fit at him, which is very funny. And let's see. The animation's better in the second one, but the music I like better in the first as well. It has one of my favorite music cues, which is the Peppermint Patty theme, which I listen to a lot.
I think the music in the first one is definitely better, but I loved hearing the new little tweaks they did to it in the new one. So it made me, it kind of makes me feel like I liked it better in the second one, even though I know that one's more superior. It just was nice to hear a different. I always like to hear variations on it. I've heard tons of variations on the Charlie Brown thing, and it's fun to hear one when they're not so far apart from the original. Sometimes when you hear new ones, they're like they lose the charm of the Vince Guaraldi piano, the twinkle toes, as I like to call them.
I don't like seeing the little redheaded girl. I know she's been shown in other specials, and that kind of ruins it for me. I think she should always be
because she's totally not hot. And you don't see, you can't see what he sees in her.
Thank you. Believe me, I have my own interpretation of how she looks.
Oh, yeah. That's why you've never been able to hold down a relationship.
Well, no, because I show them my DeviantArt account and I say, perhaps you could start dressing more like this, and then they take it the wrong way.
Except that one girl did go out and buy a big bushy wig.
Should we also say it was because it just happened, the person who played Charlie Brown in the Christmas special and in You're in Love, Charlie Brown, who was the original voice, recently died. He had very, very, I guess he had real life depression and bipolar disorder, and seems to have had a fairly sad life up until the end when he got kind of the help that he needed. So
he finally got the correct medicine,
and then he unfortunately killed himself, which is a real bummer of an ending to end around the end of the song. But I want to say R.I.P. to Peter Robbins, who seems like a guy who was really trying his best through most of his life.
Yeah.
But everyone else who did a Peanuts voice seems to be a thriving person. So it's good to see child actors not all winding up in a bad way.
Yeah. So if you liked hearing our good grief,
good grief,
you can get more of this grief at networkspecialpodcast.com, where you can subscribe. And you can also find the links to all the different services that you might use to subscribe to your podcasts. And you go to Facebook's, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. We got them all. And I'm sure you'll find something to like.
Hey, I guarantee it.
That's a Zachariah guarantee. And what do we say at the end of every episode?
Well, we say
for our listeners as a farewell.
Of course, we always say, if you like the music in the Charlie Brown specials, check out the album Charlie Brown: The Lost Cues, because there's a lot of great gold in that album.
I didn't know. I actually didn't. We don't say that every episode.
Oh, we don't?
I did not know that.
Oh, okay. As we say at the end of every episode,
bye.
Keep your hands on that remote. Bye.
Bye.